But I want to thank Elon Musk for responding to my request that Starlink be provided to North Carolina. You know, and the lines were all down. They had no communication. You couldn't get to North Carolina, the area that was hit. And they were all saying, does anybody know Elon Musk? I said, yeah, I do. I raised my hand. They asked a question. I said, yeah, I know. I said, what's the problem? They said, do you think you could get him to get Starlink, which is amazing stuff, right? Starlink. And I said, I don't know too much about Starlink, but if you want it, we can get it. I called Elon, and they had so many people over there, Tommy. They had so many people over there so quickly, and they have great communication now. But, I mean, it's a terrible. But thank you, Elon, and because of you, they're in really great shape now from the standpoint of emergency needs.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Well, the first wave of AI is modernizing all of the world's data centers. $1 trillion worth of data centers being reimagined and modernized to be prepared for generative AI. And a lot of our focus has been in the cloud, in data centers and such. What we're looking at now is the beginning of the next wave of AI as their digital employees and AI agents and co-pilots and however people describe them, as well as using AI, generative AI, to revolutionize the way they build their products and the products they build. And so we've created 2 operating systems to be able to do that. One of them, of course, is large language models with NeMo and NIM and all of our AI factories work. And the other operating system is Omniverse that allows us to represent digital information.
So we were talking, Jay Powell, you know, I think everybody's giving him high marks for where we are in trying to land this. What's not in the textbooks? A port strike. What's not in the textbooks? You know, increased conflict in the Middle East, energy price shock, if that comes or not. These things are not there, and both of them are inflationary.
Yeah.
And so what do you do if you're at the Fed? You've done very well here. You've kind of brought demand down. We're going to, you know, headed towards soft landing, and all of a sudden you have these 2 inflationary forces hitting you in the face. The Fed has a tougher job today than they did a week ago.
And what happens? I mean, Gary, just looking at it from the economic perspective, we've been talking about how 0.3% cut off GDP if this lasts a week, and every week thereafter.
No, look, as Jay said, we've been talking about this a lot. This is a much tougher scenario, and we haven't thrown the Middle East in there. We haven't thrown a major oil shock. We haven't thrown in there closing the Suez Canal and making shipping routes completely different, and we know the difference in shipping costs going around Africa than through the Mediterranean. These things are highly inflationary. This will be the real definition of transitory inflation. We'll get back to where we thought we were 4 years ago of transitory inflation, a port strike, real disruption in the Middle East and shipping lanes and oil. This is all will have real short-term impact on the U.S. economy. And I think Chair Powell sort of started foreshadowing that last week, where he started talking about, you know, a slower, more methodical move. Mm-hmm. I think he was foreshadowing exactly what he thought may be in the cards with the port strike. Right. Look, we got the 50 basis points, which we always thought was 25 at Jackson Hole and 25 at the meeting. That was the 50. Then we thought there'd be 25 more in the next 2 meetings. You know, look, I think there still is probably 25 more in the next 2 meetings, but it's not as positive. I'm not as positive today as I was last time I sat there because of the port strike and because of what's going on in the Middle East. These things can amplify very, very quickly.
Right now, inflation is going to go up again. Produce prices, food prices, because of the strike, are going to go up again. And then Kamala Harris, the vice president, is going to accuse us of price gouging. But it was very simple for the current president of the United States, who is a Democrat, and theoretically wants Kamala Harris reelected, to extend it 60 days beyond Election Day. What do we have, 35 days to Election Day? Nobody understands why the president did not extend it 60 days, other than the fact that he is still very upset. President Biden and Jill Biden are very upset that they got stabbed in the back by whether it was Nancy Pelosi, whether it was Kamala Harris, whether it was President Obama. Who knows who did the demand that they don't run again? But it was a coup at the White House, and President Biden is not like it. What happens is prices will go up again. Now you have the East Coast closed from products coming in. You got the Suez Canal, the Red Sea still closed on oil. So oil is $10 or $15 higher than it should be because the Suez Canal and the Red Sea are closed. Food prices are going to go up again. So you're going to have a vicious circle if we're not smart enough to sit down and negotiate and have a rational discussion.
So you think because Joe Biden was stabbed in the back by all those Democrats that maybe this is one of the ways that he'll be acting out, and he'll act out on policy. He's not going to get involved in the strike just to say, you know, stick it to you because you stuck it to me. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that's a great possibility. And the fact is, he could have extended it 60 days and have binding mediation or have some kind of mediation and do the right thing. But this is going to hit right between the eyes in the next 35 days on Election Day.
Big day for OpenAI, the company officially closing one of the largest private funding rounds in Silicon Valley history. The total coming in at $6.6 billion. This was at a $157 billion post-money valuation. I'm told by a source it was led by Thrive. We had SoftBank.
And we have the SEC at it again. Appeals the Ripple case. And remember earlier today in my video, I said it'll be very interesting after Bitwise put in for the spot ETF for XRP because the judge stated if institutions were to buy XRP, it's considered a security. So we clearly know what's going to happen to that Bitwise filing. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Let's get into the video. Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
Also, make sure you're joining the Patrons so you can get prepared for the 4th Industrial Revolution. And if you're not part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. I'm definitely going to be putting out several videos on TikTok. And remember, guys, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. What's going on right now is definitely unbelievable. It is definitely a movie. And we have Trump on Elon's Starlinks bringing terminals to North Carolina. And if you go to the White House letter about the hurricane, and this was September 30th, they had stated that the terminals were already set up. Also, we have Vice President Harris says that FEMA is going to give them $750. And guys, we know that's normal. But don't forget, North Carolina is not the only place in the U.S. that's been hit hard by weather devastation. And also, imagine all the billions and billions of dollars that we've given to these other countries, and we can't even take care of our own. You can't make this stuff up. And we had Biden say that we already pre-planned these resources. And the only thing we have to do is get our popcorn, sit back, and let this play out. We know there's a bigger plan behind us. Now we have Nvidia and Accenture partner to move AI. And we know Accenture is heavily invested in blockchain and these digital assets. We constantly talk about Accenture, and we know the goal of AI. So this just lets us know they're ready to flip the switch on the 4th Industrial Revolution. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Fed Jerome Powell in the House in November, and he's going to have all the reasons to cut rates even more as inflation is getting worse. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. I told you what was going to happen. We're getting movie after movie with all this inflation here, and everybody's going to be asking the Fed to cut even more. But guys, we know Japan has to rise. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, and that's going to cause global chaos in the markets. And we have John on Fox, went wild on Fox, but says that Biden and Kamala could extend the strike after the election. And he's exactly right. But guys, we know it has to be a movie. But the Red Sea and the Suez Canal is not closed. It's definitely slowed up, but it's not closed. Now we have OpenAI closing in on $6.6 billion fundraise. And guys, what do I teach you? Follow the money. It's the same big corporations investing in this AI. And we have geopolitical events are going to make the markets volatile. But guys, again, the markets are rigged. If you're a trader, you're going to love the volatility. If you're a hodler, of course, you're just going to sit and let it play out, especially if you invest in the fourth industrial revolution. If you're just an investor, you know how to get defensive and then also move from one sector to another, because at the end of the day, when you have geopolitical events, some sectors are going to take a hit. Some sectors are going to pump. Only thing we have to do is look at these war stocks. They've been moving up constantly. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, not your financial advice, not financial advice. Please do your own research. Now, we had the VP debate, and basically Trump set up Vance for the big win because Vance said everything Trump should have said. It was an easy win against Kamala because she's already in office, but Trump didn't harp on it, but Vance definitely did, and he definitely put a whipping out. Now, we have the mainstream media saying oil and energy prices are definitely going to rise in the long run. But remember, these energy prices are going to rise in the long run due to AI. They've already told us how much these data centers are going to require when it comes to energy. And then, guys, we have Lilly says I have 11 projects in the pipeline for obesity. Remember, guys, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. You can't make this stuff up. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
And these people want to know, the people that follow you, the people that watch Squawk Box, they want to know exactly what to do every minute of every day. So it looked to them like you had waffled on your long-term view. And you're going to say the same thing today. I think near term, you acknowledge that there could be some bumpiness, choppiness, but by the end of the year, you think 6,000 on the S&P.
That's right. I think we're still in the midst of a very tricky period because we've got the election in less than 35 days, and now we've got two things that investors don't know how to discount. One is, mounting tensions in the Middle East, and then a port strike that is potentially going to cripple the economy. And so I think that as investors worry about this, if we get a dip, and a big dip, I think you still want to buy that dip because the setup into year end has a lot of tailwinds.
The worst case scenario for the port situation is something that we've seen. And we shut down an economy already, and that was probably a time to buy. We know that. So we've seen that movie before. Could it be? I can't imagine it could be as bad as the pandemic, but we have shut down an economy before.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it creates headline risk because, the longer this strike lasts, there'll be companies that miss, and so S&P earnings might get downgraded or some stocks might miss results. But that's all just temporary. I mean, those are just short-term headwinds because it doesn't change the long-term outlook.
It's very strange that I don't remember any war that lasts, that where the effects, and we've been through quite a few back in the 90s and in the 2000s. It never seemed to have as negative an effect on the overall markets as we thought at the beginning of each.
That's right. In fact, if we look at the last 6 sort of global wars or tensions, you almost always buy the invasion. The exception was 2022 with the Russia-Ukraine war because we were also in the midst of a Fed tightening cycle. So that was not a buy the invasion event. But the other times you did want to buy.
Both Iraq wars.
Yep, both Iraq and.
Was the market, where was the market before that happened? Had levels come down, or were they trading at near highs or at highs?
Yes, You know, this is different because we are hovering near highs and we're in an extended market.
And things aren't cheap in terms of multiples.
That's right. But at the same time, we also know there is a lot of cash on the sidelines.
Right.
Because margin debt hasn't risen for 4 months. I mean, that's pretty unusual with a rising stock market. And now money market cash has actually been rising at a time when the Fed is cutting. So I do think there's firepower.
I thought it was sort of surprising.
J.D. Vance performed flawlessly. It was hard to see anything that he did wrong in that debate at all. Look, I don't know how much vice presidential debates matter, but whatever happened, J.D. Vance performed to the best that he possibly could.
It wasn't surprising. He was on the show, and he's been battle tested.
Release that supply back to the market if we do get a price spike than they have in the past. So I think that's the setup as to why crude is not seeing these huge kind of $10, $15 moves on an event like this, is ultimately there's plenty of supply out there that can fill a gap. Now, can it fill that gap indefinitely? No. Cause a meaningful kind of uptick over the long term to prices. But in the short term here, until we know what happens and the amount of supply that the market is comfortable with as a buffer to the upside, we're seeing a very kind of muted and measured response in crude oil.
To position in the oil and the natural gas space right now for the next couple of months?
I think we are in a once-in-a-generation opportunity to buy unloved oil and gas assets. And the real big inflection point will come when, and it is when, the world realizes we're not on a track to peak demand for oil and gas by the end of the decade. Now, between now and then, Kelly, we could have an air pocket. Macro is awful. China is awful. We're going to talk about OPEC position to buy with both hands for a multi-year boom cycle. Again, the main driver being EVs aren't coming fast enough. ICE cars aren't coming fast enough. The politicians aren't willing to push fast enough, and demand is not about to peak. When that surprise hits, we're all going to realize we're structurally short hydrocarbons in the medium term. That's the big play.
Currently, Lilly has 11 pipeline projects in obesity, all with sort of different modes of action or different modes of delivery. Oral is a big need, of course. Multimodal. So
going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.